Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. I have another video today where I will be talking about books. Today I will be talking about books that will make you want to travel. I know that right now not a lot of us are traveling. I miss it and I know a lot of people do. So what better way than to read some books that will kind of take you to a different state or country and just kind of pique your little travel bug. Please remember to like, subscribe, and comment, letting me know what you guys would like to see in the future. Again, if you guys hear any weird noises, it is my dog because he just ate something off the ground and I don't know what it was. So the first books that we are going to be talking about is going to be the, I don't even want to call these a Wild series, but the Simple Wild and Wild at Heart series by K.A. Tucker. These are really cute covers, like so adorable. But these books revolve around a character named Kella. I call her Kella. I don't know if it's Kella or Kea. I don't know. But the character Kella has an estranged relationship from her dad, who lives in Alaska. She finds out that her dad is sick and is pretty much, living his last few months ill, and she decides to go to Alaska to visit him, where she is taken by surprise by the Alaska wilderness because she is a full-on city girl, and she spends her months there and finds a lot of different things, lessons, love, and more than anything, forgiveness. And it's so awesome because K.A. Tucker does an amazing job at describing Alaska for us. And I felt like I really connected with Kella in this book because I am a full-on city girl too. I love the city. And honestly, I don't think that I would move to Alaska. Alaska is like a different type of wilderness, and but regardless, K.A. Tucker does an amazing job at describing Alaska in this book, and it just piques your interest. And more than anything, Alaska is a beautiful place, and she does an amazing job at describing that. Give these a try, you'll really like them. K.A. Tucker is an amazing writer. Just notice that the next 3 books that I'm going to be recommending are by the same author, and it is no surprise because this author always writes some of the greatest characters and some of the best cities. So it's going to be Christina Lauren. Let's start with Roomies. In Roomies, we have 2 characters who are pretty much living their life in New York City. In this book, we have the character named Colleen, who pretty much lives her life in New York City, and she has to take the subway constantly. She ends up meeting this guy by the name of Calvin, who is a performer out in the streets of New York. He is like this mysterious guy that piques her interest. So Calvin kind of does this thing for Holland where he saves her. She decides to pay him back by getting him an audition with her uncles, who are like Broadway people. I don't know what they do, I forgot it. Through this audition that she figures out that he's actually in the country illegally. And yeah, great Christina Lauren, but not one of my favorites, but I still really like it. It definitely gets you into that New York state of mind. You will not be disappointed. It's Christina Lauren, you guys. One of my favorite, actually, Christina Lauren books is going to be Beautiful Bastard. I read this one like 2 or 3 times already. While I'm not a fan of Bennett because, well, if you read this book, you'll find out, I am a really big fan of Chloe. In this book, it takes place in Chicago, where Chloe pretty much is the assistant to this guy named Bennett. So Bennett's her boss, but Bennett's mean, and he's kind of a very blunt person who doesn't really give Chloe any sort of slack. Not that she needs it, because she's kind of a firecracker too, and she pretty much gives it all back to him. And yeah, we get to see these 2 characters kind of live their life, and we see a lot of Chicago through their eyes. And more than anything, I really love Chloe's fashion. She has like a friend who gives her these high designer outfits, and yes, where are my friends that work for the fashion industry? I need to get on that. But I do have 2 friends that are social workers, so if I ever need that, which hopefully I won't. Okay, let's move on. We are going to be talking about Sweet Filthy Boy, which is my favorite Christina Lauren book. If you guys have not read this book, get on it. And where does it take place? In Paris. It does take place in Paris. It also kind of concentrates on a little bit of Vegas and Southern California. So it basically has to do with this character named Mia, who is living her life not to the best of her ability. She suffered an accident that stopped her from dancing, and she is kind of struggling with her emotional health and physical health. She doesn't feel like she's at her best anymore, and her friends and her decide to go to Vegas. And you know what they say, what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas, except in this case it didn't, because Mia decides to go to Paris with the guy that she meets in Vegas named Ansel. I mean, raise your hand if you would go to Paris with the cute boy you met in Vegas. Well, not me, because I'm engaged, but regardless, you'll love it. It's full of French stuff. It's my favorite for a reason. Then we have The Proposal, written by Jasmine Galori. This is actually my first Jasmine book, and I recently bought another one because I really did like this book. I mean, by the cover of it, come on you guys, it takes place in LA. I'm a California girl myself, so this one hits close to home, and especially because one of the main characters, Carlos, is Mexican American, and I'm Mexican American. I love the representation, and in this book we have the main character named Nicole, who gets proposed to at a Dodgers game by the boyfriend she's only been dating for a couple of months, and they are not serious whatsoever. Her proposal fails, and she's kind of just left there embarrassed because this guy literally just laid it all out there. They weren't even that serious, and cameras start following her around. So Carlos and his sister help Nicole out by getting her out of there. They spend the rest of their day together, and Carlos and Nicole just kind of get it going. They start a friendship that ends up into like a friends with benefits type of thing. But main character Nicole has a lot of issues when it comes to really getting committed to someone, and this book was really cute. It was really funny. Both of these characters I really loved. I did feel like I connected to Carlos a little bit more, mainly because he was a really family-oriented person, and of course he was Mexican American, which I felt like I related to that aspect. Nicole, on the other hand, she struggled with a lot of things, and I think commitment was a big part of it. And she was kind of a Debbie Downer, and I didn't really like that. But we get to see why she is the way she is through this book. And again, I recommend this one. It's super cute. It gets into that little summery feel. After I read this book, I remember I just wanted to go to the bar with my friends. But again, we're in quarantine. We can't do that. The next one is going to be one that I have not actually recommended in this channel, and that's going to be Crazy Rich Asians. I'm going to start reading part 2 of this one. I've super been lacking on the Crazy Rich Asians. I think I read this one like 5 months after the movie came out. But if you do not know, this book revolves around a girl named Rachel who is dating this guy named Nick Young, who is a super cute boy. He invites her to go back to Singapore with him, where she ends up finding out that Nick is a super rich dude with a super rich family. They're kind of like the main people of Singapore. They're like super invested in real estate. Love this book. Super full of fashion, full of traveling and good food. At least the movie is. The book, I don't really recall the food part, but besides the dumplings, it's all in here. Love it. So the next book that I'm going to be talking about is London Belongs to Me by Jacqueline Middleton. And I read this book once, like 2-3 years ago. I don't really remember. It's not my favorite, but it paints a really good picture of London for you. And I've only been to London once. I didn't really get to experience it, and I can tell you that it was super expensive, but I've always wanted to go and kind of spend a whole week there, get to know it a little bit more, and we get to see that through this book. The main character, Alex, is kind of running away from all of these problems that she had back home in Florida. She went through like a heartbreak and betrayal, and she doesn't really know who she is anymore. She decides to go to her, I guess her favorite city, She's a really big theater person. So she ends up going to London. She barely has enough money to make it. She's staying there with a friend and she's trying to really figure out what she wants to do. Throughout this journey, she'll find out if London is the place where she belongs or if she needs to go back home to Florida. And we're going to talk about a book that I talk about all the time. You guys are probably tired of this recommendation. I'm never going to stop. And that is going to be It Ends With Us by Colleen Hoover. While this book is not a super cute book like a lot of the other books are, it's super emotional and heartbreaking. But this one takes place in London. This one takes place in Boston. And in this book, we have the main character, Lily, who meets this guy named Ryle, who's like a doctor and super cute and attractive. And they kind of just find themselves in a relationship where they have to figure out if that's what they really want. And eventually to them, it becomes like the perfect relationship. It also shows you Lily going through letters that she found where her first love comes to mind. And she kind of starts comparing both of these relationships. You know, she's in this relationship with this handsome doctor, but then it gets tested when her first love actually comes back to her life, and we get to see that journey between Lily and both of these characters that she really does care about. But you guys, there's so much more. And trigger warning, because this book does talk about you know, emotional and physical abuse and a lot of other things that are involved and wrapped up in this book. But this is probably going to be my recommendation to anybody forever. And or on to the last book, you guys. We are going to be talking about Before We Were Strangers by Renee Carlino. And this is another book that takes place in New York. And the reason to why I wanted to mention it, even though I already have another New York one in here, is because we get to see different parts of New York in this one. So this is a book that revolves around two people. Matt and Grace are these two people that are starting school in NYU, and they come from two different parts of the world. They have different challenges in their lives, and they find a friendship within each other. We see them explore New York. So one of the big parts is that in the beginning, they had no money. They were college students, barely making it. And they explore New York day after day, and they do all of these activities. They run around, go to Washington Square Park, which Washington Square Park is one of my favorite places of New York. And yeah, this is probably the one thing that I love about this book, is that it takes you to so many different parts of New York without even spending money. Love this book. It's adorable. It's cute. Somebody's calling me, so I'm gonna have to wrap up this video. I have a lot of things I need to do today, guys. However, I really hope that you guys enjoyed that. Let me make sure I didn't miss any. Yes, you guys, thank you guys so much for coming back to my channel. I hope that you guys like these books that I'm recommending to give you a little travel bug. And if you have any other recommendations, please comment them down below. If my phone is making a weird noise, I'm so sorry. My phone is ringing. Someone's calling me. But thank you guys so much and have a great day.